All right, welcome back to Aggie Pride, a UC Davis football podcast. I'm hanging out with team captain, converted quarterback turned massive stud tight end, Mitch Dixon. What's up, Mitchell? How you doing,
How
man?
you doing? I'm good. I appreciate you having me on. Obviously a lot of the boys have come on here, a lot of the coaches and stuff. So yeah, happy to be here.
Is it Mitch or Mitchell? What do you go by?
I feel like I introduce myself as Mitchell. I think a lot of times, especially in sports, it gets shortened to Mitch. My nameplate in the locker room actually says Mitch, and my mom was like, "That's not your name. Your name's Mitchell." But yes, I think a lot of my friends and a lot of people on the team call me Mitch. But either one's fine. It definitely gets shortened down to Mitch though in sports.
Yeah. Well, like I'm looking at it because we did the Instagram post and a bunch of people had questions for you, and I'm looking at what I wrote, and I wrote Mitch Dixon. And
Right.
then I
Yeah.
see your little nameplate on our Riverside recording saying Mitchell, and so all of a sudden I said both in the
Yeah.
intro because I'm just trying to cover the bases.
No,
Like, hey,
absolutely. I mean, like I said, I always put Mitchell, but I will say seeing it in writing, seeing Mitch Dixon always kind of throws me off. But
okay,
I definitely get called Mitch more than Mitchell.
yeah. In your professional career, my guess is you're going to go by Mitchell.
Yeah.
And then when you get to be close with your buddies at work, that you'd be like, yeah, it's cool if you call me Mitch.
Right.
Anyways, enough about the name. We're 24 hours from the start of the Weber State
Yeah.
game,
Just kicked off.
which beautiful night in Davis, man. Rocco's Baby Blues, which were looking great. The Tavo Blues, the Bold Aqua, and you guys have I don't know, kind of like an interesting start to the game. And I was like deep into my videography mode, so I wasn't like capturing the entire arc of the game, but just give us your impression of how that game went, the ups and downs of it, and what you kind of make of the 34-12 victory against the Wildcats of Weber State.
Yeah. Obviously, got off to the slow start offensively. Just weren't executing all 11 jobs on every play, which has kind of been, our goal. We have a really talented group, but it's all kind of about execution with us. So obviously we had the early turnover, and then kind of just guys not all being on the same page. Luckily the defense kind of picked this up. I think we've done a really good job of that all year, kind of balancing between the offense and defense, being able to pick each other up. So yeah, I got off to that slow start. And then on that third down, they got the unnecessary roughness penalty on the sideline, and that kind of just jolted the offense. Kind of got the boys going a little bit. Obviously trying to defend our quarterback a little bit. And then started running the ball really well. We knew we'd be able to run the ball against them. We were just really confident in, our run game as a whole and kind of the scheme that Plough and the coaches had kind of cooked up for that week, and ended up making some adjustments early that ended up working, and then kind of hit a couple of our shots down the road. So offensively, obviously a really good performance. Special teams, Hunter Ridley was great. Obviously end of the first half, huge stop by the defense, missed field goal, and then coming back the other way, Hunter into the wind. People don't realize how tough of a kick that is in Davis. It gets swirled. It gets swirling down in that bowl, and it's really tough to make kicks into the wind there. And luckily it's our home field, so Hunter feels pretty comfortable there. But yeah, defense stood really strong. Really proud of the way they played, and felt like it was good to kind of get some things going, get some things firing on offense late.
Dude, that's interesting. You mentioned the wind. I don't know if I've ever had that thought that it might be a tougher place to kick field goals in, but that just clicked for me when you said that. And we joke around because our head coach, Coach Bob Biggs, who you've probably gotten a chance to meet and hear give speeches to you guys from time to time, he'd always joke around about the Delta breeze on hotter like summer days. And maybe the Delta breeze is not what comes in at night. Maybe it is. But we even have a group text with like a few buddies who we golf, and we call ourselves the Delta Breeze boys. But yeah, Hunter did have that clutch field goal. Another thing you said that stood out to me was the confidence you had going into the game because of the plan put together by Coach Plough and Shelton and the staff. That's something that I think is hard to maybe articulate to a fan or to folks like not on the team. So I've even seen that confidence from you guys when I've had the opportunity to chat, like briefly before or after a game, like what Coach Plough being the man does
Sure.
for the team. So I don't know if there's anything you feel like you'd want to add to that, or maybe even like kind of touch on Coach Plough coming back and what that kind of meant for you because and maybe it's the jumping off point between like you changing positions because I'm
Mhm.
pretty sure that was the moment that you shifted to tight end. So yeah, talk about Coach Plough and if you want to kind of give any stories or backstory to becoming a tight end, that'd be great.
Yeah.
UC Davis football stands for tradition, teamwork, and having each other's back, especially when times get tough. That's why we're proud to partner with Bold, Paulsner, Maddow, Nelson, and Judson, a respected California law firm with over 55 years of experience helping families and businesses prepare for life's unexpected turns. Whether you're navigating estate planning, probate and trust matters, civil litigation, or elder law, the team at BPM&J offers clear, compassionate guidance through California's legal landscape. BPM&J is deeply rooted in Aggie pride. The firm is led by Craig Judson, a double UC Davis alum, and the Sacramento office is supervised by his son, Scott Judson, former Aggie Pack MC and past president of the UC Davis Cal Aggie Alumni Association. 4 other attorneys in the firm are also proud Aggies. From starting a family to managing assets or honoring a loved one's legacy, Scott, Craig, and the BPM&J team are here to help with confidence, care, and compassion. Their services include estate planning, such as wills, trusts, and powers of attorney, incapacity and elder law planning, probate and trust administration and litigation, conservatorships and guardianships, and general civil litigation. With offices in Walnut Creek and Sacramento, BPM&J serves clients throughout California. Visit bpmnj.com to schedule a free consultation. And this season, listeners of the Aggie Pride podcast will receive an exclusive $500 discount on the preparation of a comprehensive estate plan. Just mention the podcast when you book your free consultation with either Scott or Craig. Please note this message does not constitute legal advice. For personalized guidance, contact BPM&J directly. The firm's attorneys are licensed only in California. Bold, Paulsner, Maddow, Nelson, and Judson. Powered by Aggie Pride.
Bank like a champion when you bank with University Credit Union. UCU is the official credit union of UC Davis and is committed to giving every UC Davis student, faculty, staff, and alum a financial advantage. From low loan rates and financial coaching to high savings rates, including our new Elite Certificate Special, University Credit Union helps you reach your financial goals. Visit ucu.org for details. Use promo code Aggie Pride Podcast to get started. University Credit Union is federally insured by NCUA. Heading to Seattle to cheer on the Ags this September, join the Cal Aggie Alumni Association for a pregame tailgate at Husky Stadium. Tailgate and ticket packages are on sale now at alumni.ucdavis.edu/events. Also, spend homecoming week with the Cal Aggie Alumni Association. Starting on October 8th, CAAA is hosting a variety of events, including the annual Friday Night Social at Sudworth Brewing. Check out all events at alumni.ucdavis.edu/homecoming.
Yeah. So in terms of the game plans, I think obviously Plough's kind of a wizard when it comes to football, but our whole O staff it's a pretty collaborative game plan. The way they come up with how we're going to run the ball, how we're going to throw the ball, situational things, stuff like that. But yeah, I mean we're super confident in our game plan every week, and that's really good as a player to feel. Because it just lets you go out and execute freely. You're never second guessing anything at all. So yeah, I have a lot of confidence in the O staff, and I think they do a really great job of game planning really specifically each week, but also staying true to like who we are as an offense and who our identity is, and kind of our morals as an offense per se. In terms of Plough coming back, yeah, I mean, really, really special for me. Obviously, getting recruited out of high school from him, and then came here, and then within a few months, he left for Boise, and that was kind of really, really tough for me because I kind of felt like I was, his guy, and like I felt like, he was kind of my guy. He was through the recruiting process, was really the guy that I was communicating with the most. And yeah, full transparency, it was really tough for me when he when he left. Obviously, I had all the guys around me that were kind of going through the same thing. So kind of was able to go through that fire, with them, and especially, Grant Harper, going through literally the exact same situation as me at the same exact time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and then, I'd actually changed positions to tight end before Plough had gotten there, right after
Okay.
spring ball of the previous year. I'd switched to tight end, and then tore a ligament in my foot, like my first play ever as a tight end in fall camp, and then was out for that season. And honestly, it was kind of the best thing that ever happened to me. It really helped me learn the position. And that was Hawks last year. And then, coming into that 5th year, first year healthy as a tight end, put some weight on. And so I was feeling pretty confident. And obviously then Plough comes back, and, I was fired up. That was like the best news I could have ever received. I was so excited to finally, 'cause I knew I loved him as a human being, but didn't get to experience him, as a coach, and you hear, obviously you talk to the older guys and like you get stories and things like that. But, I think the fire that he's been able to instill in the program has been unbelievable. I think, you know, Coach Hawk did a really good job of establishing, Aggie pride, and really establishing kind of the Davis guy culture. And then I just feel like Plow's kind of ramping it up in terms of, taking our program to another level, and kind of transcending, uh, past standards, I think, to kind of be one of the top programs in the country.
Yeah. Cool to hear that the impact that had for you. And that was one of the things that stood out when Coach Plough came back from his intra press conferences, that almost guilt that expressed with the quarterback room specifically. And even this year, when I had a chance to catch up with him, like the anguish he feels over even the current situation, like, and feeling for Grant and that sort of thing. And I know you're buddies with Grant and that situation. And last night's a good example. Like, Caden goes down, and I was in the end zone, but when I saw him go down, I'm like, oh geez, man. Like, I thought it was a lower body injury from the vantage point I was at. Turns out to be, it looked like a shoulder or something. Ends up being fine, but just like in a moment, life changes in so many ways. And you've seen that with Winston. You talked about it with yourself. We're even like all like holding our breath with the Connors brothers, and just hoping that they're doing okay. And that's just the nature of it being like a physical game. But you are a captain, you are a leader, you're someone that demands, or I would say commands, a lot of respect on the team. So how have you kind of navigated the last 7 days, like with Winston going down, and then just seeing like certain key guys like going through some injury spots? Like, what's kind of your message been to the team, and even like to yourself, like to
Yeah.
remain calm and poised despite the uncertainty?
Yeah, I think it's a really good question. I think the Winston injury was really hit home for me. I mean, it's one of my best friends, but also, obviously in my position group. I remember we came up at halftime, and me and Ian were kind of just looking at each other, kind of just like, holy sorry, but like we were like, what?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that's our boy, and we're all old guys that don't have a lot of eligibility left. So you never know it's going to be your last play or not. It's funny. Bones kind of had to like snap us both back into shape. Like, guys, we still got to go play half of football. The Winston was tough, man. Winston's kind of the battery of our team, and kind of the identity of our team kind of runs through Winston. He's the most physical football player on our team. And I think that maybe Rex would have something to say about that, um, but yeah, I mean, Winston's he epitomizes what we want to be as an offense and as a team. We always say the most physical teams, they always win. So, that was tough. I think, in terms of talking to the guys, I think the good thing about, being a leader at a place like Davis is, you're surrounded by so many good guys that you like, it's not even like a job. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, it's a next man up mentality. And, the way Winston handled getting hurt was like the most unbelievable thing I've ever seen. He got hurt and then within 15 minutes was on the sideline coaching up me and Ian and talking to the guys through plays. And, obviously we don't know exactly what's going to happen with that situation, but that could have been his last football play ever. And within 15 minutes, he's thinking about, okay, how can I continue to contribute? And it was just like one of the most amazing displays of like human action I've ever seen in my life. So yeah, huge inspiration, for me and I think for the team as a whole. It's funny you say like, what do you tell your team, but then also like tell yourself. I think coming into the game last night, I was like, okay, like if Winston's not gonna, set the tone in terms of physicality, I think, me and Ian kind of have to take that role. And so I think that's something that me and Ian take pride in. And it's kind of one of those things that we got to kind of do it for the boys. But yeah, obviously injury bugs kind of creeping up on us. So just got to kind of roll with the punches a little bit. Obviously the twins, we don't really know exactly what's going on there. Grant Garrison or Gary,
Yeah.
obviously with the torn pec, that's a big loss too in terms of the
Yeah.
physicality of our team. And another kind of just a tone setter on the defense. So yeah, I mean, that's the thing about football is it's a violent sport. And Gary made a comment last night as he was like, it's as sad as it is, it's part of what makes this game so beautiful in a way. And
Yeah.
you really never know when that'll be your last snap for months and months and months on end. So um kind of just not taking anything for granted and roll with the punches. And we got a lot of depth on this team, and guys are gonna have to step up, and I think they look forward to that challenge.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's like the fan side of a lot of the listeners and even of myself who you're just like, who's gonna play? Like, oh man, that's a big loss. How are we gonna fill that void? That's just like the total like we're just watching a Niners game and we're like, oh shit, every one of the Niners getting hurt. Who's gonna,
Right.
is CMC gonna go this week? Like, okay, Brock Purdy's back, whatever. We won't talk more about the Niners. But then there's the life side of football, even too, where like, hey, suffering and hardship create like the biggest change in a human's life or reveal what a human is really like. And so your story about Winston's really interesting. Just and just made eye contact with him, and he said, "What's up?" yesterday, and I didn't even know what I had. Nothing came out of my mouth. I didn't know what to say. I felt so bad for him. I had a lot of I have a lot of respect for him too. So prayers up for him, prayers up for everyone. And yet, as you were able to communicate like that, it just shows like what type of guy he is. There was a bunch of questions on Instagram. A few of them I will read. One of them, I don't know if you know this guy, Alex the Xander. I don't know if you're familiar with all the Instagram handles out there. He says, "What was the team attitude at the end of non-conference and going into Big Sky play?" And then the second part of the question I like, how did the vets, aka you and the guys, help the new guys move on from the Washington loss and get ready for Weber? And they're leaving out Southern Utah, but I was really interested in that too. The Washington game was obviously tough. You have a week off. I was wondering, like, what does it feel like during that time? You guys came out ready to roll against Southern Utah, and you've had two very solid wins back to back.
Yeah, I think in terms of the Southern Utah game, we take pride in coming off of bye weeks and putting up a lot of points because it's 2 weeks of preparation, and you really have no excuse to not be dialed in on everything. To answer the first part of the question, coming out of non-conference, honestly, kind of sitting where we wanted to be. Felt like we the Mercer game obviously was kind of crazy, and we had so many transfers coming in, and so many new guys playing. Um, one of our 4 words of the season with the hurt is the unity. And obviously Davis, you're always going to have a unified group, but we hadn't gone through a lot of fire together as a team. So to kind of go through the whole Mercer thing was kind of a good thing for us. We kind of all got to bond over that. Obviously the road game start was crazy. So kind of got to bond over that. We're getting home at 4 a.m. 3 weeks in a row, and kind of doing it for the boys. And then, you come out of non-conference, and then really Southern Utah is kind of a Big Sky team, or they will be next year. Same with Utah
Yeah.
Tech. So, not a huge attitude change going into conference, but the thing about playing in the Big Sky is every week you're playing a tough opponent. No matter what their record is, you're gonna have a tough opponent in the Big Sky, and if you don't show up to play, then you're gonna get beat, and that's kind of the reality of the Big Sky. Um, yeah, I think what other part about the older guys? Oh, the UW
Uh,
loss. Yeah, yeah, the
I
UW
think
loss.
the
Yeah,
yeah.
obviously, they're a really, really talented team. They're the best team I've ever played. Obviously, they
Mhm.
played Ohio State pretty well this past weekend, who's the number one team in the nation. Um, so I mean, games like that, you try not to get too caught up in,
Yeah.
what the actual score says. If you can squeak one out and get a win, it's maybe the greatest night of your life, And obviously, would like to have had made that game more competitive. But I mean, even seeing, some glimpses in that game, you could still draw a lot of good and draw a lot of confidence from games like that, where you're individually on a certain play competing with dudes at the highest level. Um, so yeah, I honestly don't think that those games are too tough to move on from. I think Plough keeps us in a really good mindset too. His talks to our team are really direct and straightforward and honest, and there's a clear message, and I think he does a really good job of keeping a consistent portrayal of what he wants our team to hear. So, yeah, I would kind of
Yeah.
attribute a lot of it to Coach Wow.
Aggie Pride is proud to partner with JG Graphics in Rancho Cordova, the spot for custom apparel, embroidery, and printing. Aggie alum Pete Povey and his team helped us design and produce our Aggie Pride hats, and the quality is next level. If you need gear for your business, team, or next big event, Pete will take care of you from first idea to final stitch. Support a fellow Aggie and check them out at jg.graphics or visit their shop in Rancho Cordova. This episode is sponsored by Larison Real Estate Team, Bob and Jan Larison. You already know the name. They've been incredible supporters of UC Davis football, this podcast, and of course, they're Land's parents, now cheering him on as he suits up for the New England Patriots. Off the field, Bob and Jan are one of the top real estate teams in the region, helping folks buy and sell across Idaho and Eastern Oregon. Whether it's a home, land, or investment property, they bring experience, hustle, and heart to every deal. So if you're looking to make a move or just want honest guidance, check out LarisonTeam.com or follow them on Instagram at Larison Real Estate. Huge thanks to Bob and Jan for backing Aggie Pride. The Aggie Football Fund provides essential gap funding for the UC Davis football program, empowering the team to access vital resources for player development and program success. It also reconnects and engages former football alumni to maintain the legacy of Aggie Pride and perpetuity. Through direct and flexible support, the AFF bridges funding gaps while fostering a thriving alumni community. Visit AggieFootballFund.com for more information. We've got a new home for Aggie Pride, a UC Davis football podcast. Visit AggiePridePodcast.com. It's the hub for everything. All our episodes, ways to subscribe for early access, and our brand new Aggie Pride Classic hats in navy or beige. While you're there, sign up so you never miss an update, and follow us on all our socials for game day content, throwbacks, and behind the scenes. And don't forget, like, follow, and share the pod so we can keep growing the Aggie fan community.
Yeah. Love that. And you even mentioned you had a couple standout plays in that game. And I think something that I just noticed, and you had a less opportunities last year to show it, but when you have the ball in your hands, which of course that's what people notice the most. Sadly, we're not locked into your blocking schemes and how you're passing off doubles or getting second level or doing whatever you need to do on. And the tight ends, I feel like there was we had Brad Bisbell on last week. He was during my era and he played tight end and he was like, yeah, like uh Plough is challenging these tight ends. Like he's like, this is a talented group. Like this is a focal point of the team. I feel like you've really kind of answered the call throughout the season. Like I know you probably don't like to do this because most players don't, but do you feel like a sense of pride in just being able to make a really radical transition from quarterback to tight end and like not only contribute, but like being a captain, like a significant piece of the team? I guess how do you feel about your own like kind of performance and the overall like big picture? Like, dude, I'm rocking this tight end position. And you're also like massive. You freaking put on so much muscle and weight, which is impressive.
Yeah, I think in terms of the tight end room, obviously we didn't start the season how we wanted to. First 3 games, just not really playing our game. In the off season and in camp, I think we took a lot of pride in being a big focal point, and we were all returners, all healthy coming into the season, and really wanted to kind of be the position group that the team could lean on. Um, and yeah, I mean, Plough sat us 3 down and basically said like, "Hey, I need more from you guys." And he kind of hit the nail on the head, and it was an honest conversation, just like Ploughs always are. And it was a good wake up call, and so I think from then on, we've kind of tried to reestablish ourselves as leaders on the offense, and just do what's asked of us, but then also help all the other guys, whether it's either lined up or um, really setting the tone physically. So yeah, I think that's the tight end room. Obviously, like with Winston going down, it's pretty tough, but I think me and I take a lot of pride and. We got some of the younger guys. Bones stepped up a lot last night, getting in the game and, getting his first like really meaningful snaps, which I'm fired up for him about. He's worked really hard and he deserves it and he prepares really well. And, yeah, for me individually moving to tight end, I love it. I mean, I honestly felt like I was like started playing a different sport. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm,
switching from quarterback to
interesting.
tight end, it was like I was picking up a different sport. It's so different from quarterback. Really quarterback in any position in football, maybe like specialists,
Yeah.
um, is a little different, but like having your nose in the dirt, every play and then living in the box every day. It's gritty, you know what I mean? And I had to kind of luckily I was really good friends with the tight ends before, like Garen O'Keefe and McAllen Castles and Thorpe, Skip, all those guys. So I was already boys with the tight end, so I'd watched them a lot, and I kind of knew what I had to do. But yeah, absolutely, it was definitely like, all right, like when I come out for this first day of practice with pads, like I gotta show everybody I'm not a quarterback anymore. So yeah, obviously it helped that I put on some weight. Mass moves mass. That's what Winston always says. So it definitely helps to be a little bit heavier, especially, being a bigger tight end. Yeah, and my play style is a lot of time I'm in the box blocking with my boys on the O line, and I love it. I absolutely love it. Last night I had a ton of drive blocks, and I was like, man, I just love drive blocking. And it's just like never expect myself to say that like 4 years ago. Like if you said like, oh, I just love drive blocking, like I like throwing touchdowns. You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, it's been a blast. I think everything happens for a reason, and I think I wouldn't change a single thing about my journey here, and it's been a crazy wild ride, but I'm feel so blessed that it's happened and kind of turned out the way it has because I'm having a blast.
You know, dude, a couple of things you said just take me back to like the position change transition. For me, I don't really relate to feeling like a different sport, but in high school I was like a hybrid guy. So linebacker, tight end, fullback, had the ball in my hands a lot, felt like an athlete, got to score and all that. And then in college, when I walked on initially, I'm like, well, I'm going to be a linebacker, but I'm like a 4'9", 5 flat, if I'm really honest, linebacker. So that ain't going to work. Not even in 2009 or whatever, or 2008. And so then they move into DN. Newsflash, still not athletic enough for DN. Like you can't be that slow either, but was like
Oh,
good enough to make the team at DN. And
Right.
then injuries happen at D tackle, and I'm just gaining weight and lifting and all this stuff. And so I end up playing D tackle, which it is quite different than being a linebacker or a fullback, H-back type guy. And so, the weight gain, like the body composition change and all that sort of thing is just crazy. But yeah, I think it's cool that you've made it work, and not only made it work, dude, like just solidified for yourself that role. And even when this will transition me to my next question. When I caught up with your dad either yesterday or the week before, he's like, he just started playing tight end. Like he was just like blown away by it too. And so, when I think of your dad and your mom and that crew, the tailgate crew, which we've had Bob Larson on a podcast episode talking about like the parent perspective and what that's like, which was super insightful and obsessed with the Larson family. But you're friends with a lot of that crew too, which is interesting. Like the Connors brothers and seeing Keith pregame and stuff. So I guess as a friend group, because you've been there so long, like what do these friendships mean to you? What's it been like to develop friendships for longer than I got in college because of the extra years and whatnot?
Yeah, I mean, I love that question. Like, I could talk about this for hours. Like, this, like, for me is what it's all about. Like, I love playing football. Like, I love the game of football. I think it's the greatest game in the world. But like at the end of the day, like I just love hanging out with my boys. You know what I mean? Like, I have such a good group of dudes here. And the cool part about being here for so long is you go through different phases of being best friends with different guys. Um, it was really hard last year to this was my first camp ever going through it without Miles and Trent. And that was weird because I was like, oh, this is, like they've been, whether it's in the quarterback room or whatever it is, like they've, I'm always riding in my truck to the DC with them. You know what I mean? And I was like, I got to find somebody new to ride to the DC with. But I mean, yeah, like the twins, Gary, Heft, I mean, Winston, Ian, like I'm going to leave everybody out now. They're going to be mad at me, but I mean, we have such a good group of dudes on this team. And it's so much fun to hang out with them. You spend so much time together, that you're kind of forced to be best friends with them, for better, for worse. And then you come home and you live with them. So, yeah, I mean, we have such a tight knit group. Obviously you played football at Davis, you know how it is. You're just surrounded by so many good dudes. Um, you could go on and on about so many different guys on the team. And it's just like that time and like, after games, like you said, on the field with the parents and, hanging out with all those guys. And, obviously the Larison crew made it out a couple weeks ago, and, maybe we try to get Lan out for a game if he can ever get off his scooter. And then, I mean, it's fun. It's fun. I've talked to a lot of guys that have graduated in recent years, and they're like, man, like the thing I miss the most is like the post practice like locker room, or like the post game locker room, and like just like that locker room is such like a sacred place, and exactly how it is. Like it's just, we call it the chop. Like the locker room chop it just never gets any better than that. And like I don't know if I'll ever experience that ever again after this. So, I've taken advantage of having 6 years of eligibility, so I've got a lot more locker room chop than anyone else. But yeah, I mean, I love it. I love the guys. I love the going to war with them every Saturday, and kind of the different dynamics of the relationships.
Well, especially, you can tell, maybe because I've chatted with like some of the parents of that friend group, but you can tell the closeness that you guys have. And yeah, even last week getting to golf with a buddy who came to the Washington game with me. And this week we have friends coming with us to SLO. And tomorrow night I'm picking up Dwight at the airport for being gone for a month, like who's normally the co-host on this with me. So, the relationships that I've been able to stay connected with are some of the best relationships. We know it with brain development. It's the sweet spot of developing lifelong relationships. I'm actually in like the next sweet spot, which is I have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old. and our 5-year-old's going to kindergarten. And so I'm starting to become friends with all of these kindergarten parents. There's like a guy in my neighborhood who played football at Cal, coached at Monte Vista Denver. I'm like, bam, there it is. So just those moments in life where you can connect and create the lifelong friendships. And you'll see this running into Trent Tompkins last night at the game. He's like, yeah, just like my roommates were gone and in the city tonight. I was like, what the heck? Why won't I go to the game? I'm like, heck yeah, dude, come to every game can, dude. Like it's
Right.
and that's a guy who I didn't know. I mean, I knew him on the team, but we never had him on the pod. And yet a year after, it's like already like you're talking like you know him just because of, for lack of a better word, that kind of like fraternity that people talk about. And we say this and we're singing our own praises because this is what we do as humans. But like, I don't know if Weber State's like got that alumni network. I don't know if Southern Utah's got that alumni network. Maybe they do. And if they do, that's awesome. Like everyone should. But I think the ID Pride thing is a little different. Of course, we're really biased, but transitioning. And Ari said this, dude. She was on a couple weeks ago. She said, when I was at Cal Poly with undergrad, like I looked up to Davis. I looked up to the athletic department. To paraphrase her, it felt more legit as what kind of I got out of that. Don't quote her. You guys
No.
are playing down and slow this weekend for the Battle of Golden Horseshoe. My time, these were very hotly contested games. They were very good. They would win like 9 or 10 games a year. They had guys go to the NFL. Like I remember my freshman year going down there and Ramses Barton breaks Jerry Rice's FCS receiving touchdown career record, like in the stadium, packed house. Well, dude, they look pretty good from what I've seen. Like this is a team that seems more improved. You guys have probably had very little time to talk about it and stuff, but of course, we're already getting Instagram comments. What's the emphasis at practice going into the Cal Poly week? So you can tell us something about the team, or you can just talk about what your expectations are for this game.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like I said, every week in the Big Sky is huge. And then one of our main goals as a team is to beat the 2 green teams every year. So, here's the first one coming down the pipe. Obviously Big Sky team, rivalry game, always going to be competitive. Always going to be some shit talking out there, and that's just kind of how it goes. And I think for us, obviously, we haven't dove in too deeply to Cal Poly yet. But I think for us, it's just offensively, it's just executing. We gotta. It's the whole 1 of 11 thing. It's do your job, and do your job to the best of your ability, and then we'll get rolling. I think. The tempo was really good for us last week, sorry. And kind of, utilizing that as a weapon, and knowing when not to use that or use that, has been really good for us. I applaud a lot of the younger receivers, Stacy, ZZ, those guys for being so locked in on all those different fast breaks. Just communicating at an elite level out there. Guys like Scott Nixon that just transferred in. Wideouts who are doing a really good job of, being physical in the run game, just doing their jobs. And then you gotta, Pinnock's been great, operating the offense. So I think just kind of doing our job to being 1 of 11. And then every Saturday, as a O-line and tight ends group, we want to be the aggressor. We want to be the most physical team. Give our boys back there something to run behind. And so I think just kind of it's all about us. We got to play our best. We still have yet to play our best for 4 quarters. So that's probably kind of our goal rolling into the week. Is just kind of clean up some things and really just execute at a high level.
Nice. Let's play a hypothetical. We're starting to wind down. It's the end of the season. It's your last game, and it could be in Nashville. It could be who the hell knows where, but you're just kind of taken in that moment. What kind of memories, if you like just stop for a second and think about, man, what's flooding through your head at that point? Not necessarily the result of the season, but just the things that are going through your head as you realize like this has been a significant part of your life. Like this is a 6-year journey. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, what things do you think will be flooding you in that moment?
It's funny you asked that. I actually do like a meditation thing in the locker room, like right before we go out, before games, and I'll put on like some like classical music, and I'll kind of just like close my eyes and breathe, and kind of like walk myself through from like the day I showed up freshman year to like the current day.
Mm,
Um, and there's just so many different things that have gone on, and the biggest word that came to my mind when you're asking me that was just like thankful. I'm so thankful that God has directed me in the path to bring me to Davis, and all the crazy things that have happened to me. It kind of makes you who you are, and I've experienced some hardship. I've experienced some weird things while I've been here, and I think it's just made me a stronger person. But yeah, I'm just thankful. I mean, it goes back to the boys. I'm so thankful to be playing this beautiful game with my best friends. Me and Rex were walking down, for the coin toss. We're walking down the tunnel, and I was like, man, there's just nowhere else in the world I'd rather be right now than right here. Like, it's just, I love playing ball, and I love playing ball with my best friends. And it's just not anything that I'll ever take for granted. I've luckily I've had a lot of time and played a lot of games and seen a lot of things, and um, been able to experience so many of the ups and downs, the highs and lows of college football. And yeah, I'm just so thankful, for Coach Plough for originally giving me opportunity, Coach Hogg bringing me here, and then Plough coming back. And hopefully this is going on in Nashville. Hopefully I'm giving Plough a big hug on the 50-yard line and saying we fucking did it. So
oh yeah,
yeah, that's obviously cool. But yeah, thankful.
yeah. Well, like you said, it's a talented team, and coach has said it himself. Like this is the most talented team he feels like he's ever coached. Now the Nick Saban rat poison voices in everyone's head. Like don't believe it. Like you got to go earn it. There's been plenty of talented teams in a million different
I'm
sports,
listening, I
dude.
promise. I just I gotta get my laptop charger.
Oh, you're good.
I'm listening.
But we've all seen like loaded, star-studded teams in every sport, basketball, football, this, that, who don't do it, and yet we've also seen teams with lesser talent do it. What stands out to me is that you guys have that camaraderie, that closeness, that like intimate group that you need to overcome setbacks and challenges, and they've already been coming, right? Like we already talked about the injuries and stuff. So final question for you is like, I don't know what you're doing a year from now. Like if you're trying to continue the football journey or if you're working somewhere in a cubicle, if you're learning how to fly planes, like whatever's in store for you though. Um, what characteristics or lessons from your Aggie career do you think you'll actually really utilize for your post college life? I know that's a meaty one, so you can take a minute if you need it.
Yeah. I the first one that jumps out to me is when I lost the starting job to Miles, that competition, my third year, um, you know, Cody came in, told me I didn't get the job, and I was heartbroken, and it was brutal, and I kind of checked out for really that whole year, and didn't handle it well. Didn't I mean I agreed with the decision. I think Miles outplayed me in the end. But I really took that not in a good way. Was in a weird place mentally, and kind of like got derailed by that, and kind of let that bleed into a lot of different places of my life. Um, and then, kind of experiencing that and realizing that, towards the, is actually kind of the start of the new year, talked with my dad, and, um, it was one of the most, it was really the first like personal hardship that I've gone through, I guess, like in terms of like my own explicit doing,
Mhm.
that was like at my own efforts. And then when I got hurt and I tore my Liz Frank, shout out to Liz, it was so cool because I saw that as like a new opportunity for me, to, take this piece of potentially derailing information, and, instead of letting it crumble me and kind of consume me, redirecting that energy, into other places and like to really like make myself better. So that's why I said earlier, like when I got hurt, like it's really the best thing that ever happened to me because it not only was I able to learn from my first experience, but I was literally able to every single day when I woke up prove to myself that I would be able to get through that. Um, and so yeah, I mean, there's 100 different things that I could tell you that I'll take, because this place has like formed me into the man I am and the man I'll always be. It'll form how I raise my kids. It'll form, the people I choose to be with in my life, and the father I'll be one day. And it's Davis is the most unbelievable place in the world to become a better football player and a better man. But yeah, I think just kind of like having some resilience as a person, in terms of, my own efforts and, things like that. And in other words, just joy, finding joy in whatever you do, and I love that about Plough and how much he harps on that. And, um, I already have like a natural zest for life, I guess. I love to live. I love relationships and I love, people. And this place has afforded me the opportunity to experience so many different experiences with so many good people. And yeah, I love Davis and big Aggie Pride guy. So yeah.
Love it. Hey, it would be so beautiful if life just transformed us without going through the hard stuff. It just doesn't seem to do it. I wish we didn't have to go through the hard stuff. Like we all do it. Like all of our listeners, like we all have our personal lives. We've all gone through hardship. And that's the thing, depending on how we respond, that really transforms us. And you use that word resilience, and how you want, even you mentioned like, oh, and how I want to raise my kids one day. Like resilience is something that apparently all the experts are saying like kids are really struggling with right now. Kids are struggling with like how to be resilient. Not to go into the weeds on parenting too much, but like we're trying to teach our kids like to be tough, to work hard. Like you're not just you're so smart, you're this or that. Like you got to work for things, and it's going to be a grind and it's going to be difficult. And it's a good reminder for myself. But you finish, or you use that word joy too, that coach always uses. And we all know, like, to be spiritual for a second, like the joy comes in the suffering. And there is this grittiness even after a loss sometimes, where you can have that contentment, knowing that like you went into battle with your brothers. And so a lot of wisdom. And I think it makes sense given you're like a 6-year guy who's changed positions, worked your way up, changed your attitude after losing the job to Miles, end up being great buddies with him, and it's like to see where you're at now, like keep that same like chip on your shoulder and work ethic that I know you will, but really, really honored that you could join the pod, man. I think your maturity shines through, and I can't wait to see what you do the rest of the year, because I know you're going to ball out, but also what you're going to do after this. So thanks again for joining. And yeah, looking forward to seeing you do your thing down in SLO next weekend.
Yeah, it was a blast. I appreciate you having me on. I've been looking forward to it. And yeah, I think the boys will be fired up, and hopefully we'll get some of those guys on here soon. And yeah, we'll see you down in SLO. I think I speak for everyone when I say we kind of appreciate, what you've done this year with the podcast, and kind of it's been a really fun addition, just to the team in terms of the locker room chop, and the different sound bites and things like that you get from the guys. Obviously had Sam and Trent on, like that's such an elite duo to have on the pod.
Yes.
But yeah, man, thank you for everything that you do for the program. And it's all about finding ways to contribute, and you're contributing. So I appreciate it.
Appreciate it, man. I know the O-line's giving me shit. I like Zaire's like, you need an O-lineman. So I know that I wish I could cover every single base all the time. It's not that easy, but
Poor
yeah,
Zaire's going to do that. That's the most
Yeah.
Zaire thing ever.
yeah, exactly. So now you can give him shit in the offensive locker
I will.
room
I promise.
on my behalf.
I absolutely will.
All right, dude. Well, have a good night's rest, and yeah, we'll see you soon.
Brock, you're the man. Appreciate it.
All right, see you, Mitch.